Welcome to 5 Points Blues presentation of Back to the Basics. Everything you wanted to know about Cowboys football, but were too afraid to ask. Here are your hosts, Nikki Harrison and Christy Scales.
Welcome, welcome back to the basics. Everything you wanted to know about Cowboys football, but were too afraid to ask. I'm Nikki Harrison here with Christy Scales. Before I forget, give us a call, 888-855-2297. That's 888-855-2297. Hi, Christy.
Hi, we got some Cowboys football to talk about. We got
Yes, we
Super
do.
Bowl to talk about. And I personally am paying off a bet today, sort of.
Yes.
Have you
must
ever-
explain why you're
Well,
wearing
have
this
you ever
shirt.
won and lost a bet at the same time?
Yeah, oh, no.
Sort of. Oh, well, okay. I'm wearing, this is the U.S. Women's National Team soccer jersey, all right?
all right.
The other America's team, right?
Yes,
Well,
absolutely.
this shirt today is sort of a compromise because my very good friend and tax accountant, who is a Philadelphia Eagles fan, we had made a bet a while back that if the Eagles go to the Super Bowl, I would have to wear an Eagles jersey
And of course you took
on the
that bet.
podcast. Of course I take the bet. There's no way the Eagles are going to the Super Bowl,
No.
especially after Carson Wentz gets hurt. And I'm like, I'll do that
Absolutely.
bet.
Oh, no.
Then I'm like, I'm sorry, I cannot wear an Eagles jersey. That was the first thing that I thought of when they took the lead. When Case Keenum threw the interception and the Eagles tied it up and then went on to win, I'm like, I cannot wear an Eagles jersey. Well, the reason why it's a U.S. Women's National Team jersey is Julie Johnston Ertz is the wife of Zach Ertz, the Pro Bowl tight end for the Philadelphia Eagles, and she scored a goal the same day. You know, the Sunday is played. The U.S. Women's National Team beat Denmark 5-1 on Sunday in San Diego. They played at the same time that her husband,
Wow.
the star tight end for the Eagles, played. And it's really cool on social media. You can go and you can see a video of her post-game learning that the Eagles are going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
So I figured that's a good compromise.
That
you
is.
know?
That
So
is. That looks
for Julie Johnston.
much
Okay.
better than an Eagles jersey.
Thank you. We got some. We
Speaking
got some
of
good
Zach
questions.
Ertz,
Yes.
So since he's going to be playing in the Super Bowl, Jason Witten was selected to the Pro Bowl.
That's right. He's a replacement for Ertz, who had a wonderful season and had a good game in the NFC Championship game. And so this is Jason Witten's 11th Pro Bowl, which ties
Bob Lilly,
Bob
Hall of Fame,
Lilly,
Bob
Mr.
Lilly.
Cowboy. Yeah,
That's
the
amazing.
first draft pick in team history, the first member of the Ring of Honor, the first Dallas Cowboy in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, Mr. Cowboy, and of course Witten has won so many of the Bob Lilly Awards.
Yes, he
that
has.
that are presented at
Deservedly
halftime.
so.
Yeah, in December, which is voted on by fans for greatness on and off the field and being a team leader. And so I think it's only fitting that if Bob Lilly is going to be tied by anybody
Right.
when it comes to Pro Bowls, that it would be Jason Witten. So congratulations to Jason. So he and DeMarcus Lawrence and Travis Frederick will be playing Sunday in Orlando. And Tyron Smith and Zach Martin were also voted to the Pro Bowl.
Correct,
But Tyron, of course, had the knee injury at the end of the season.
Right.
And Zach Martin, our Pro Bowl right guard, had some surgery, just a little cleanup
Okay.
on his elbow. So he's not going to play, and neither is Tyron. But there will be 3 representatives on Sunday. Oh, and also Kashera.
Yeah.
We have to, someone.
That's
we had
right,
gotten a
Lacey
question about-
and Amarillo.
Okay.
She says, thanking you for the nice story on 5 Points Blue about Kashara representing the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders at the Pro Bowl. She's one of my favorite all times, and she wants to know how was she chosen for the Pro Bowl, and why do the Cowboys only get one representative?
Well, each team only gets one, so
Okay.
I think it should be like the players, where you should get to no. And there are actually there are 6 NFL teams that do not have cheerleading squads. So
That's
the
right.
other 26 send one representative each. And the way the Cowboys do it is it's a vote. Fan voting is included, but it's also a vote among the teammates, the squad members,
Yeah.
and also the staff for the DCC. And so Kashera is really a deserving winner this year. This was her first year in a true leadership role, and she's the blonde that's on the point. So when they do the Thunder pre-games, and it's kind of like the pointed towards the thing. She's the one that's at the tip, at the point. And my favorite thing about Kashera in interviewing her last week, she's in Orlando already. The cheerleaders have events all during the week, lots of community events, things like NFL Play 60, kids camps, sponsor events. Anyway, Kashara is the one that if you watch the CMT, Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders Making the Team show, she's the one that 3 years ago, the sweet little girl from Kentucky who came and on the very first night of training camp wore the wrong outfit. She wore the wrong colored outfit to the first night of Cowboys cheerleader training camp and thought, oh no, am I even going to make it to the second day? And now she's a Pro Bowl cheerleader.
She's got a good story.
That's right.
You make a mistake, you can still go far.
Exactly.
Well, speaking of this weekend, there's something else going on. That's fairly important, the Senior Bowl.
That's right. It's on a Saturday afternoon, and the Senior Bowl is a big deal because it's basically a week-long audition for the best college seniors.
Right.
And it's an invitational deal. And what's important is it's not just the game. It's 3 full days of practice. So NFL scouts, coaches, player personnel people, team executives, they spend the whole week, they're already there now, in Mobile, Alabama. The Cowboys coaching staff did not go this year, not all of them, because Jason Garrett is still forming the staff. But Cowboy scouts and player personnel people are there, and of course our colleagues at DallasCowboys.com are there, so we can keep up with them, what's going on. But it's 3 days of practice. And that's really important because the Senior Bowl is different from the Combine in that the Combine is the underwear Olympics, okay? It's not real football. It's going through football drills. It's weightlifting. It's running between cones. It's being timed in dashes.
Yes.
It's not real football.
Okay. But no hitting.
No, oh gosh, no contact.
No contact.
No. Oh, heavens no. They don't even put on a uniform.
Right.
So
you're right, underwear.
Yeah, it's the underwear Olympics because they literally are just going through drills for agility, speed, strength, and things like that. Vertical jump, one-on-one interviews, kind of like speed dating where you meet with the teams. But the Senior Bowl, they're actually practicing, so the coaches and the scouts, they get to see how they practice, right? More about, where are they with some of their technique. And an actual game, too, right?
Yes.
And also with practice, you can kind of learn about their work ethic and kind of get to know them. And what was really, like a couple years ago, when the Cowboys coaches they coached the North team, that's when Carson Wentz was assigned to them. Cowboys had the 4th overall pick of the draft, and Carson Wentz was off the board, number 1 to Philadelphia. But the Cowboys had gotten a whole week to see a kid on the other team, on the south side. They got to see him practice, got to see him carve them up, the North, in the second quarter, and they ended up taking that kid in the 4th round. His name is Dak Prescott.
Wow.
So just an example, but basically it's a week-long audition for these guys, but it's only college seniors.
The college seniors.
Yes, and it does not include the underclassmen who have declared for the draft, and then the league announced this week that there are a record 106 players, underclassmen, or people who have met requirements, graduated from college in 3 years, that kind of thing, that will also be eligible for the draft.
Now, let me ask you this. Is it all of the seniors, or are there some who just aren't invited?
Not everyone's invited.
Not everyone's invited.
Let's see some examples.
Kayvon Frazier.
Wasn't invited. There are only 60 slots for the North and 60 slots for the South on the roster. So there are many people that are very good college seniors that are overlooked, that are not invited.
They shouldn't be discouraged.
But they shouldn't be discouraged because the Senior Bowl and like the East-West Shrine Game, some of these all-star games that have already taken place or that will take place this weekend with the Senior Bowl, that's just one step in the off-season process leading up to the Super Bowl. The biggest thing is the NFL Combine, but there are also pro days. So each of the colleges will have a pro day. So for example, at Alabama, they've got so many NFL prospects that the University of Alabama players, the ones that are eligible, will be there, and all the scouts from all the teams, all the coaches can go and watch the pro day. Texas A&M, Texas, UTEP, USC, they all have pro days where they
Gotcha.
get to show off their players. And then some of the bigger draft prospects will have their own individual workouts.
Oh, wow.
So
Okay.
they can do that as well, individual workouts. And then, of course, the combine. Not everyone's invited to the combine. That's a
I didn't know that was invitational.
Oh, it's invitational.
Wow,
really.
okay.
Yeah, and so there are people. Romo wasn't invited really to the combine to participate like one of the top prospects. He was brought there as an arm just to throw to the top tight ends and wide receivers who were invited. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
So kind of a practice tryout,
Absolutely.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
But he ended up making a good impression. I know he didn't get drafted.
For sure.
Tony Romo didn't, but he got seen enough and had such a good career at Eastern Illinois that he had several offers coming out of school, including Denver and places like that, but decided to sign with the Cowboys.
Fascinating. And you think about it, that you think that the football season ends at the end of the Super Bowl, but it really doesn't. It just continues on to the very next. It doesn't actually end because you can start paying attention this weekend and you'll see players that are going to be on the sidelines on the field in August.
That's right. The Senior Bowl kicks off at 1:30 Central Time on Saturday afternoon. It airs on NFL Network. I know a lot of people may have watched the East-West Shrine game this past weekend, but the off-season is one long job audition, right? It's
Yeah.
a job interview
Yeah.
that continuously goes and goes and goes. And so right now, the players that are not taking part in the Senior Bowl, they're doing their workouts, right? They're prepping.
Right.
They're doing specific things to get ready for the drills that they'll be doing at the NFL Combine or at the pro days and things like that. And the players who are the prospects who are not invited to the Combine or things like that,
Yes.
with the draft, there are only 7 rounds, right?
7
and some
rounds.
compensatory picks.
Okay.
And as soon as the draft ends, after day 3 ends on Saturday afternoon, Saturday night the phone is ringing, and because the teams are trying to get as many of the undrafted rookie free agents signed as they can.
Gotcha.
And then once you get signed to a team or invited to a tryout, then you've got a 4-month-long process of going through the off-season rookie camps,
Yes.
OTAs, mini camp, and hopefully training camp, and maybe practice squad or a 53-man roster after that. It's a long time to get a job.
Well, that's so good. I love that. Well, we have a question from Eileen in Waco. Well, this is a very good question.
Okay.
She wants to know, what does a player receive in terms of money during this season if they get hurt? What if they're out for the whole season? Are they or the team taking the hit?
Eileen, that's a great question, and it's hard to answer in just one sentence because it really depends on your situation. If you are a vested veteran, if you have 4 years or more in the league and you're vested, then your base salary is guaranteed week 1 of the season. So if you're on the 53-man roster for that first game and you're 4 years in, you're a vested veteran, then your base salary is guaranteed no matter what. So even if you get hurt early or midpoint, anytime in the season, then you're going to get your base salary. If you are a younger player, if it happens before the first game, there's some different things that can happen. Let's say you were to get hurt in the off season or get hurt in training camp or preseason. If the team feels that you probably weren't going to make the team anyway, then you would get an injury settlement.
Okay.
And so if it were a 3-week injury, maybe you strained your hamstring and they're saying, okay, that's a 4-week injury, then we would settle for the going rate of 4 weeks at that salary. And,
Okay.
so you can't get cut. Teams cannot cut injured players, okay? Because the players need to be protected. They need to be,
Right.
They need to get some salary. They need some kind of money because otherwise you see how many injuries there are in off season and during the season. So it could be an injury settlement, or the other thing is some of the young players in particular that come in kind of a standard contract. It used to be a standard thing where it's a split contract. So if you were to get hurt in camp or during the summer in an OTA or a mini camp or something like that, or in a preseason game, then a split salary would be basically like half of that base salary. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. Yeah.
So again, I'm sorry, Eileen, that it's a 5-minute answer to your very well-written question.
Definitely.
But it really depends on your circumstance, whether you're a veteran, when it can happen, how the team treats it. But the good news is that if you're get hurt, they can't just cut you and not pay you.
Got it.
You're either going to get a settlement, split contract, or if you're protected as a veteran, even if you're not 4 years in, if you're hurt during the season and like you go on injured reserve, then you still get your base salary.
Okay, that's good to know.
But it's bad for the team in that, okay, I have 2 tight ends who are hurt,
Right.
and I still have to pay them, but I have to replace them and hire new guys on to take their spots. Well, now I've got 4 guys getting paid for 2 spots on the roster because these 2 guys are now on injured reserve. So when they talk about salary cap flexibility and always having a little bit of money extra, there are certain things that happen during the season, right? And so you always have to have enough money so that when somebody gets hurt, you can bring people on board. Or if you wanted to trade for somebody,
Gotcha.
like that.
That makes sense.
So you have to have a little bit of flexibility.
Little wiggle
built in.
room. Well, this question from Kay in Frisco kind of ties into that. She also wants to know who gets the money or what happens when a player is fined or suspended.
Oh, if they're fined or suspended? Well, the money, if they're fined by the NFL, like let's say it's for a helmet-to-helmet hit or for throwing the ball into the stands after a touchdown, or a uniform violation, your shirt was untucked, or your towel was too long. I mean, there can be any number of things where it's anywhere from like $2,600 to $25,000. That money is taken from your paycheck.
Okay.
For a fine.
Okay.
You never see it because what's going to happen is, let's say you commit this infraction on Sunday. You're going to get a letter from the league during the week saying you've been fined for this infraction, and then subsequent paycheck would have that taken out. That money is distributed among different charities that the league works with.
Okay.
For example, if you ever saw the old movie Brian Song, Brian Piccolo, Gail Sayers, the one with the Chicago Bears, the Brian Piccolo Foundation, I know was one. I don't know if they still are, but that's an example of one of the charities. So that's what happens with the fine money. You don't get it, and it's given to charity.
That's
and then
nice.
the other thing is if you're
suspended.
then and K probably means what happens not only with the player but with the team.
Correct.
So, for example, when Ezekiel Elliott was suspended 6 games, then he loses 6/17 of his base salary. You get your base salary. It's 17 weeks during the regular season, okay? 16 games plus the bye weekend.
Right.
So take your base salary and divide it by 17, and that's your weekly paycheck during the regular season.
Got it.
He didn't get those 6 checks, okay? Because he was suspended.
Correct.
So he's missing 6 of those. The Cowboys did not have to pay, right?
Right.
They kind of get, it's almost like a cap credit
Okay.
that they would get for next season.
Got it.
But it's not, they can't spend it until next year, but they do have to pay to have someone take Zeke's spot on the roster.
Okay.
Right?
Correct. Yes. But,
So again,
I mean,
they're kind of having to pay.
So,
You know,
but
so
Alfred
you're
Morris
saving.
was
You're saving.
already-
Well, Alfred Morris was already on it.
Okay.
So, and it doesn't have to be a running back. It's whoever they want to use
Brought
the
in extra.
roster spot for.
Got it. Okay.
So, yeah. So you're having to pay the guy who is replacing Zeke on the 53-man roster, but you're not paying Zeke for that. You're going to
Right.
get credit for it later.
And you
So-
can't use that money that you would have paid Zeke that year. You got to wait until the
Well,
following.
in terms of the salary cap, it would be credited. So it's very convoluted and things like that.
I feel like we
but-
could have a whole episode about
Oh my gosh!
salary cap.
We should get Stephen Jones, or we should get Todd Williams or Adam Persifka in the player personnel office.
Yes.
To come in. You talk about tired head. I know people get tired head when I try and explain these things on our Back to the Basics show, but I'm always asking Todd and Adam or Steven, okay, well, what happens on this? And it's very convoluted and very confusing. So
I can.
can you imagine trying to keep track of all
No,
that for
no.
53 players?
I can't.
Just know that if a player gets fined, then it's going to go to charity.
That's nice.
And if
I like
a player is suspended, then he's not getting the money. Zeke has lost that money. He's not going to get it back.
Got it.
Okay?
Makes sense.
He cost himself a lot of money because Zeke in particular, it was so much more than 6 weeks
Right.
of regular season paychecks
Definitely.
because it was against the personal conduct policy for the league. He's lost his guarantees going into the future. So for
Sponsors?
injury, so if he were to get injured,
Wow.
he did. It was very serious. Yeah.
Oh, that's awful.
A lot of repercussions, a lot
Definitely.
of ripple effects beyond those 6 games.
Okay. Well, we're going to switch gears a little bit.
Okay.
This is a great question. Valerie in San Antonio wants to know, why does the Super Bowl use Roman numerals instead of regular numbers? Thank you, Valerie. Great question.
Speaking of tired head.
Yes.
Wow. Those of us who never took Latin or those that got
Took
a
it but have
D,
forgotten
C or
it.
a D in Latin class, yeah. Latin's a dead language, dead as it can be. First it killed the Romans, now it's killing me.
Yes.
Anyway, that's the only thing I remember from Latin class. Okay, it's a couple of reasons. They didn't start using a Roman numeral until Super Bowl V, which, by the way, was the Cowboys' first appearance in the Super Bowl. It's the one they lost to the Colts.
Okay.
That was the 1971 season. But before that, the first 4 Super Bowls, you have to remember that we hadn't had the AFL-NFL merger. The first 3 games were the NFL-AFL championship games, and then they came up with Super Bowl, and I can tell that story later of how it got its name. But they used the Super Bowls for a couple reasons. One is Lamar Hunt thought it would look cool and kind of add some cachet, to have the Roman numeral look.
Yes.
Which was really great for the first 10 years. But when you get to
Yes.
38 and 39 and 43 and 27, 28, that's pretty tough. But the other thing is it's to avoid the confusion between the season and the actual year that it's played, because the Super Bowl that's coming up, Super Bowl 52,
Okay.
LII 52 in Roman numerals, is being played in February of 2018, but it's for the 2017 season.
Right.
So if you were to call it Super Bowl 2018, it's for the 2017 season,
Got it.
right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So the first Super Bowl, that AFL-NFL championship game, was played in 66, even though it was the 65 season.
I got it. Okay. Yeah.
So that's really the main reason, was to give it,
Okay.
to avoid the confusion between the regular season and the year that it's actually played, because
it.
it's never the same.
Never the same.
So the Cowboys, when they won Super Bowl 27, it was played January 31st of 1993, but
Okay.
it was for the 1992 season.
I got it. It makes sense to have the Roman numerals in the earlier years, but like you said, now it's so confusing. I feel
Yeah.
like we understand that it's for the previous year. Those Roman numerals are so confusing.
They are tough. They're tough. Oh, as for, I mentioned Lamar Hunt.
Yes.
He's the one that came up with the term Super Bowl. Lamar Hunt is the late owner of the Kansas City Chiefs, and before that, the Kansas City Chiefs were the Dallas Texans. And he is one of the co-founders of the AFL, American Football League, which was a rival league to the NFL from 1960 through 1969 before they merged. Well, Lamar Hunt was like Tex Schramm in that very innovative and thinking ahead and a real leader among NFL owners. Tex Schramm was a general manager, not an owner, but they were very like-minded in progressive thinking. And so the first Super Bowls, again, they were not called Super Bowls. They were the NFL AFL championship games, because it pitted the winner of the AFL versus the champion of the AFL versus the champion of the NFL. Well, Lamar Hunt came up with the idea of calling it something different, and Super Bowl is actually from the little bouncy ball, the Super Ball. I'm sure you had a super, the little,
yeah.
not rubber or plastic, but
But I know what you're talking about.
Little super, they bounce really high, the little
And
ones.
they're teeny tiny.
Yeah, so Lamar's son, Lamar Jr., and his daughter Sharon had one of those little Super Bowl bouncy balls. And so when Lamar and the NFL owners and the NFL commissioner, they're all having these meetings with their broadcast partners for negotiations and extending the stuff with the championship game. He's like, like a Super Bowl, a Super Ball. And so that's where
that's how
comes
it.
from.
Oh my
yeah,
goodness!
The Super Bowl is actually named after a child's toy.
Who would have thought?
Yeah, true story.
That's crazy. Okay, I got one more question before we get out of here. Ellsworth in Allen, Texas. This is a good question. Isn't Nick Foles the Super Bowl quarterback for the Eagles? The same guy we could have signed to our backup quarterback. Why didn't the Cowboys sign him when we had the chance?
Oh boy, Ellsworth, you're not the only one asking that question. As Foles, gosh, what a great game he had in the NFC Championship, beating the Vikings 38-7.
My goodness.
Yeah, flashback to 2 summers ago when we're out in training camp, and I remember Jerry Jones was big. This is when Tony Romo was our starter, Kellen Moore was the backup, Dak Prescott was a rookie 4th-round pick, and then Jameel Showers, who's now a practice squad safety, was a backup quarterback. So we had 4 quarterbacks on the roster at training camp. Nick Foles had asked for his release by the Rams and was a free agent and could have signed with anybody. And Nick had been with the Philadelphia Eagles and, even done a playoff game with them, had been traded the previous year to the St. Louis Rams and started a couple of games and then lost his job to Case Keenum, who quarterbacked the Vikings, by the way, on Sunday.
Oh, my goodness.
Anyway, Foles was a free agent, so Jerry was asked, hey, why don't you bring in Nick Foles? Because you have this untested Kellen Moore and Dak Prescott and Jameel Showers, and said that they didn't. Basically, Jerry said he didn't see him as an option.
Yeah.
And so we passed on him.
Fascinating.
Yeah, and could have had him.
Could have had him.
And he said we're going to go with Kellen Moore.
Mm-hmm.
And within a couple days later, Kellen Moore breaks his ankle. And now Dak Prescott is the third string, is from third string to second string. Nick Foles, in the meantime, has signed with the Kansas City Chiefs, so he's no longer available. And 3 weeks after that, Tony Romo gets hurt in Seattle and broken with the back injury, and now Dak Prescott has gone from third team to first team because Moore had broken his ankle and Tony Romo had hurt his back. And what happened was, after they had basically passed on Foles, they were going to maybe go for McCown from the Cleveland Browns, but decided now we don't want to pay they would have had to trade for him because he was under contract. He wasn't a free agent. Josh McCown was under contract to the Browns, and the Cowboys felt that the price was too high, and we like what we see in this rookie Dak Prescott, and we're going to move forward with him, and the rest is history.
Story for Dak.
Yeah.
How he got his start. That's just really
because it wasn't just Romo getting hurt.
No.
He was behind Kellen Moore.
Exactly.
And now Kellen Moore, it's expected. It's not for sure yet. They're still finalizing the staff, but a couple of years later, Kellen Moore could end up as his quarterback's coach.
That's right. And they're what, 4 or 5 years apart?
Yeah, I think Kellen is still only 28 years old.
Wow.
Something like that.
But you said he comes from coaching background.
Born to be a coach. Yeah, his father was a high school coach, and I think that those of us, the impression that the long-timers who've been around the Cowboys forever, the same impression that we had of Moore is the same thing that we had of Jason Garrett when he arrived in '92. It's like, hey, he's a coach in waiting, right?
Gotcha.
He's going to end up doing that. Such a sharp guy and really sees so much and works well with the young guys. And Moore has been like a mentor for a couple of years to Dak Prescott already.
That's good. Okay, well, good. Well, that's it. That's all the time we have.
It goes so fast.
Flies by.
Yeah, thank you to Valerie and to
Ellsworth,
Eileen.
Kay, Eileen, And Lacey.
And Lacey, thank
Yes.
you very much for your questions.
Thank you. We'll see you next week on Back to the Basics.
This has been a production of 5 Points Blue, DallasCowboys.com, and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?